and welcome to another Ask AJ. Today it's not Ask AJ, it's Ask A S. Who's getting the surname? This is Tom.
Hello everybody.
Tom is new to Ashdown Jones. You might have seen him in his previous life as what did you do before now?
So I worked in the holiday lettings industry, so you might have me out to buy a property for a holiday or just see me out and about the car.
Does sound like you're actually from here originally.
No, I'm from Newcastle for my sins originally, but then I moved here about 5 years ago.
Did you? Is that all? So you've only been here for 5 years?
Yeah, 5 years, then I've lived in Edinburgh for a bit, New Zealand, things like that. So I've lived in a kind of life, but I've settled here because it's amazing.
So you've got a bit of a mosaic of an accent.
Yeah, it used to be a lot stronger when I was younger.
Did it?
It was really sort of, really broad Newcastle Geordie accent, but it's quieting down all the time.
Have you met my partner yet? Because
No,
he's Geordie as well.
Is he? Oh, it's a good chat.
Yes.
Is he a Newcastle fan?
He's a Sunderland fan.
Oh, that was a different conversation.
It could be a conversation there. Moving on. So Tom's joining us and he's going to be taking over some of Phil's valuation and appointment diary because we are mad busy at the moment. And so lots and lots of people are wanting valuations on their homes, up-to-date valuations given what's happened over the last 2 or 3 years. You could be forgiven for being very confused about the value of your home. And what we want to try and do is inject some clarity and some realism into what you might think your home is worth. And actually you might be pleasantly surprised because the doom and gloom mongers amongst the media have done their very, very best to strip off your profit off your house or any little growth of your property value over the last 2-3 years, and it's not the case, you'll be pleased to know. So we are getting really, really good prices for some beautiful homes. There is obviously some caveat to that, so unique homes always do better. If you've got a 3-bed semi and your next door neighbours is exactly the same and they've got to move in a hurry, unfortunately their sale price is going to affect your asking price and what's realistic to ask for yours. But if you've got a bespoke, unique, individual house, who can actually say what your home's worth? What we can do is we can say what we think our buyers would pay for your home, and that's really important. So we have, we've recently sold homes of 3 million, 3.75 million, I think, 2.5 million, 2 million, and these are homes that have been priced significantly higher than they were before the pandemic, and some have actually got higher than pandemic prices, which is really good news.
Yeah, great.
It's good. So the reason Tom's here is to talk about timing and to talk about when's the best time to go on the market. And as I say, he's taking up some of Phil's appointments because we're very busy now in the Dales as well. So if you're not familiar with our massive world domination plans, you won't know that this is office number 1 in Windermere and office number 2 is in the Dales and office number 3 is pending. So watch this space. We will dominate the north of England.
Definitely.
So we have sent you, if you've got a unique home in the Lake District, over the next few weeks you can expect a letter like this. It will come from the printers and not from our rubbish office printer. And in it we talk about the Lakes high value property market, what's happened so far in January and part of February, and what we expect to happen in the rest of this year. And we send these out 4 times a year, so if you're on the list you'll be getting one in the next 2-3 weeks. And we talk about timing in particular. So we talk about the Boxing Day results because we launched quite a few homes to market on Boxing Day. They've been fantastic results. Talked about how the market's performed in the first few weeks of 2023 and some of the gorgeous, gorgeous homes that we've got under offer and sold as well. And then here, on this page here, because it's quite a big update, is timing. And we talk about the fact that in years gone by, and yes, I am old, traditionally, if you had a big house in the middle of the country with a beautiful garden, your agent would tell you to only sell it in June. That was the only month of the whole year you could sell it because that's when the garden looks its best. So they would come along with their photographers, they would photograph the beautiful gardens and the grounds, and you would go on the market in sort of June and hope to be out by, I don't know, October, let's say. That would then be supported with the ordinary to upper level house market, which would happen between March and June, and then that would be supported by the smaller houses, sort of the 2-bed terraces, 3-bed semis in the January, February, March. You can see how it works, and they in turn would be triggered by the fact that conversations like I'm not spending one more Christmas with your in-laws would trigger the the sale of the sort of first-time buyer market and so on. So that's traditionally how it's always gone. In the last 2-3 years, tradition has been thrown out the window, and it is now a free-for-all. You can sell your house any time of the year, no matter what size it is, no matter what market you're going for. There is no now seasonal market that there always was. And in the Lake District, you might think that, well, there'll be a seasonal market for the summer because of the visitors. It's actually flipped because summer visitors, summer buyers or buyers don't want to be arguing in roads with summer visitors. So the Lake District is not necessarily at its best, is it, in the middle of the summer?
No, especially like say with all the traffic and sort of more volume of people there, it doesn't showcase what is best about everything that is here. So like say when the times of the year you can sell any time. It's not just restricted to that springtime section like you mentioned, so it makes it great for properties that we have because it's so bespoke and tailored. When people go and see them, they look best and all year round.
Well, I think when we first opened 5-6 years ago, probably the older sellers that we had still preferred to sell in the summer because they didn't want to think about having to go out of the house in the cold winter months to allow viewings to happen. They wanted their garden to look at its best because they've tended the garden for 25 years, and that's understandable. And they also didn't really want to move in the winter months when it's cold and wet, and I don't know, it just didn't feel like the right time to do it. And also they were probably conditioned by tradition. That's good, isn't it? Conditioned by tradition. I feel like there's a song there. And they were conditioned to think that really the sale of a house should happen in spring, late spring. Now we don't see that anymore. I think what happened during the pandemic is it was a bit of a pattern interrupt, and people were selling when they needed to sell to get the best price possible, and that has reflected in future months and years. And like you said, with the traffic in the summer, it's not the best time to show your house necessarily. So in the Lake District we have a bit of an odd market. Anyway, one of our best years ever, or best months ever, was October a couple of years ago before the pandemic. The October was huge for sales. So I don't know. There's no rhyme or reason.
Why do you think that was?
Probably summer visitors coming back again and buying in the October. And I think there's something around the school term time, so it depends on the buyer and the seller and how that fits in with them, doesn't it? And also whether they're selling a second home. We're selling a few second homes at the moment. They're empty. You went to see a second home yesterday, didn't you?
Yes, did.
It was empty. Was it a second home? Was that the reason it was empty?
Yeah, it was empty. Yeah, so it was with an agent and they were renting out for a couple of years. They were looking to move on and sell it. Yeah.
Okay, so they're not restricted by any kind of time, their own time. And I think that we were talking, weren't we, about how possibly saturated the Lake District is for holiday homes. I mean, I think it's the same throughout the country really, but particularly Lake District. I think we both feel, don't we, that there's too many beds now available for the number of visitors.
Yeah, I think there's so much scope out there in the market that it's difficult for people to try and find one that suits them because there's so many out there. And the more that gets added, the more saturated it gets. And
do you mean people by people? Do you mean holidaymakers?
Yeah, sorry, yeah, holidaymakers trying to find somewhere. There's so many out there. It's difficult to try and narrow it down. And you can see, I certainly saw bookings sort of slow down on the properties because the more properties you flood the market with, the less bookings each individual one would get. And I think especially the higher end ones were feeling it more because the type of clients were changing. We could see a shift in the market in terms of what people were getting in their house in terms of the clients, and I think the higher end ones are sort of getting a bit nervous about that, and they're thinking actually rather not rent it or sell it.
It's a big deal, isn't it? Because if you've got a really big house and let's say you rent it for £10,000 a week during the summer, it's kind of like all or nothing, isn't it? You've got £10,000 one week and nothing the next week. Yeah. You can't really predict that. Whereas I suppose if you've got a little, I don't know, 2-bed terrace cottage on Tickover, then you can probably look at a year and think, yeah, I'll probably rent it out for, I don't know, 40% of the year, something like that.
Yeah, I'd say definitely agree with that it was the bigger ones, the bookings were a lot less.
Were they?
And you had to they were really selling the peak times. So you're very restricted, so like January, November, and apart from Christmas New Year was very quiet. Whereas the smaller ones, like you say, would book all the time. You've got a constant revenue coming in. But the bigger ones, would suffer during the weekends.
I suppose, sorry, that's my dog snoring. It's not us, we haven't fallen asleep. I suppose that's another reason for, if you're in the lakes, potentially selling in the winter, because if you have rented your holiday home or your second home out over last summer and the bookings have come to an end and you're looking at this summer thinking, well, I don't have as many bookings in, maybe now's the time to sell it. And we've done Ask AJs before about how you can sell a holiday home with bookings in, which you absolutely can with forward bookings in. You can switch them to another agent, or you can stick with the current agent, or you can do it yourself, or Airbnb or whatever. Or you can just take the bookings that are there and then stop the book. There's lots of things you can do, so don't think you've got bookings that you can't sell a property. We also have lots of viewings that are only in between cleaning times on changeover days, which is usually about 11 till 2 or something.
Yeah, you don't get much time to go and actually experience it properly.
No, it's not as good, but we can do it. So timing-wise, it's a free-for-all. It's about really your needs, because if you want to be in your new home or to have sold and banked this home by, let's say, Christmas 2023, now that seems like a long way away. It's actually only 10 months. So by the time we come to see you, maybe suggested a little bit of plan of works, or just to get the house ready for photography and for viewings. That could take another 4 weeks. Then we've got to get it on the market. That's photography, brochure, floor plans, all the beautiful things we do. You could, even if you get us out today, you could be looking at maybe March, April, especially if you're not in a particularly big rush to get it on the market, and you want to get on the market in the a bit more of the nicer months weather-wise. So let's say you put it on the market for certain March, April, you get viewings then, offer in May, June, seal that offer in June, July, and then start progressing it through the solicitors, which are not known for their speed, then you can see that actually Christmas looks like it's doable. So the time to get us out is now to plan what you want to do. If you don't want to get out by Christmas, you want to get out by the following summer, then a conversation now is just to help you plan. And if you want to get out by this summer, then it all needs to move a bit faster. And obviously the bigger the house, the potentially, particularly in the Dales along the chain, if you are a discretionary buyer and it's a discretionary seller, then there might be no chain on that side. So it means you can get moving quickly. Anything else we haven't covered about timing? People say that they don't want to show their home in the winter because it's cold and wet. So what we do is the viewings team, who are amazing, will go into the home early, and we talked about this the other day, didn't we?
Yeah.
Put all the lights on. What else do they do?
Sort of just make it sort of presentable when they go and make sure it's tidy. I know Victoria was saying she's gone and the dog had eaten the stick and left it all on the lounge carpet, so it's checking for things like that. Make sure when they go in, it's sort of showcasing it at its best light. Everything's there. That's what they do. The team take time to do that, because if you don't that, you sort of go and there's clothes everywhere, laundry out, dirty dishes. It's not a show.
But if they did, then you wouldn't see any of it if you were a buyer. We also do things like light the fire, put all the lamps on, maybe put a bit of music on if that's okay with the owner. Even make the viewers a cup of coffee. Anything that makes them feel at home. So it doesn't really matter if it's lashing it down outside, because if they feel like it's really nice and cosy inside, they'll want to stay longer. If they want to stay longer, then they're more likely to make an offer. So if you're thinking about selling any time in the next year, 18 months, now is the time to get us out for an appointment, just a consultation, so we can give you some up-to-date information on exactly what your home's worth, when the best time to sell it is, what's our VIP list looking like at the moment, which is the list of buyers. We have private buyers, and really what's the kind of demand for a home like yours. We can tell you that, and sometimes that can change, in days or weeks, so we'd be very happy to give you an up-to-date on that. We do drink Yorkshire tea, and that's it, I think. We do eat biscuits. Well, I eat biscuits. Phil doesn't eat biscuits. Do you eat biscuits?
Oh, any type, yeah.
Okay.
It's got chocolate on it.
So Tom would like to order some chocolate biscuits in advance, please. And that's it. Thank you very much for watching this Ask AJ with me and Tom. If you've got any questions that you'd like to pose for a future Ask AJ, we'll be very pleased to hear from you. And we'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.
Bye.